So I've been doing this thing on my channel where I go back to the haul videos that I posted about 5 years ago, react to them, and see which of the books that I hauled 5 years ago that I still own that I haven't read. At the end of this, I'm going to tally all of the books and I'm going to give myself a year to read those books, because if I'm not reading them, why are they on my shelf? You know what I'm saying? I'm just having fun at this point. So today we have my April and May book haul from 2018. I don't know why I combined April and May. We're gonna find out, I guess. So let's just get right into it. Let's look what this lady was buying. Lots of things, probably. Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Jo, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are in a bit of a different, angle, because I have two windows right here that I just couldn't really utilize from the other way. See, Jo, we have figured out a way to fix that. It's called lighting. New concepts, I know. And I have 38 books. 38 books. Jesus Christ. So the first two that I have are Don't Talk Back to Your Vampire and Because Your Vampire Said So. This is the second and third books in the Broken Heart series. I guess it's a series. Yeah, I have those. They're over there. I read the first one. It's a paranormal romance series, obviously about vampires. I haven't read those. I haven't read those. I still have them. I had every intention of continuing on with that series, but obviously it didn't work out. The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simmons. A lot of people hate this book. I've heard... Excuse me. No, ma'am. I've heard a lot of bad things about this book, but I've also heard a lot of good things about this book, and a lot of people consider this a guilty pleasure read. So I'm wanting to give it a chance. That book was huge. I don't have it anymore, but it was huge. I can't imagine somebody considering that beast, that huge ass book, a guilty pleasure. For me, guilty pleasures are like short, little teeny tiny little tastes of stuff. No, I haven't read it, but I don't own it anymore. I remember having it, but I don't remember having it for an extended period of time. It didn't last long on my shelf. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the first bind up book in the Ryuri Revelation series. This has two different books in one. This follows our two main characters, Royce and Hadrian, and they are mercenaries for hire. They were sent to go and steal this sword, and they were actually caught in the same place where the king had just been murdered. I don't own that anymore. I did read it. A lot of people in the high fantasy community back in the day were going crazy about this series. I read this first bind up, Theft of Swords, and it was okay. It was not my favorite. I didn't love it. From what I remember, I didn't really enjoy it, and I got bored, so I unhauled it. She's gone. Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. This is the first book in the Greatcoat series. So the Greatcoats are basically the king's men. They're the king's men. And when these people rise to power, they murder the king and most of the Greatcoats. The king gives his final mission for the remaining Greatcoats. That just sounds so interesting to me. Really? That sounds so interesting to you? Because it doesn't sound interesting to me, honey. That sounds fucking boring. Pretty positive. I do not own that book anymore. No, I do not see it. So, previous Jo, who thought that was so interesting of a summary, you were lying. I know you were lying. I think I only bought it because of the cover. Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This is another book that a lot of people either love or they hate. This is kind of like a time-traveling romance. I've heard a lot of good things about the TV show. I've heard a lot of good things about this first book. Yeah! Outlander! I read that one. I actually buddy read it with my good friend Jen from the Book Refuge. Oh, what a full circle moment. Isn't that so sweet? The Outlander series is actually on my TBR for 2023, or one of my goals is to start the Outlander series again, because I think I got to book 4, but I want to start it again. I've read Outlander. It's really, really good. I loved it. The Complete Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I think it's considered a biography of Art Spiegelman's father as he is trying to survive in Hitler's Europe. And as you can see on the front, the Jews are depicted as mice and the Nazis are depicted as cats. I love Mouse. I absolutely love Mouse. The first time I read it was in the 8th grade. It's a really, really good story. It's really difficult to read, obviously, but it is such a powerful story. It is amazing, and I still own them. Ooh, I got a burp. Nope, it's gone. Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. I read these books in like middle school. They were the shiz. This book series follows this girl named Tally, and in this world, you basically live in Ugly Town until you turn 16 and get this complete and utter plastic surgery procedure to make you perfect and pretty, and then you can move on into the broad world of Pretty Town. I had read it before I bought this copy, and I don't have this copy anymore. I got the People cover copies because I like those better. It's a good series. I really liked it. James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. I'm trying to start collecting children's novels. Yeah, I read James and the Giant Peach. I read it for, I think, the rereadathon back in like 2018, 2019. I don't fucking remember what is time. I don't know. I still own it. I did read it. It's a check mark in my book. The Telltale Heart and Other Stories. This is obviously by Edgar Allan Poe. The reason I picked this up is obviously because it was $3.99, but the illustrations in it are just so quirky and fun. This is illustrated by, it says Grizz Grimley Illustrated. I remember that very vaguely. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I don't have that anymore because that is a really cool copy of The Telltale Heart. I did read it though, and I really did enjoy it. Why did I get rid of it? I don't know what I do. I don't know what I'm doing. Furthermore by Tahara Mafi. It's a middle grade story following this girl named Alice who is basically devoid of color in a world full of color. I didn't read it. I remember a lot of people back in the day were going crazy about this book because it is a really cool concept. I remember trying to read it, but I just don't think middle grade is for me. It wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. So it's gone. I don't have it anymore. P.S. I Like You by Casey West. I've been wanting to get into Casey West for a while now. Have you? Interesting. I never read P.S. I Like You. I don't even think I've read a Casey West. I don't own it anymore. It's gone. Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This is about these two, I think they're college students, and they kind of bump into each other, have this awkward meeting, exchange numbers, and they basically become each other's kind of diaries. Yeah, Emergency Contact. I bought that because of the cover. Point blank period. That cover is freaking gorgeous, and I remember trying to read it. If I'm remembering correctly, there was some girl on girl hate type of things, like slut shaming, that I was just not vibing with, and I stopped reading it, I think, after like 30 pages max. So no. The Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. I never actually finished the Hunger Games trilogy. I read Hunger Games, loved it. I read Catching Fire, didn't like it, and I never read Mockingjay. I finished the Hunger Games. I did read them. I finished all of them. I think I listened to them on audio. I liked the first one. I didn't like the second one. The third one was okay, but it was just meh. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I have heard so many amazing things about this. So, funny story, I now own the first two books, and I haven't read the first one, and I still don't know what it's about. Okay, moving on. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. So basically we're following our main character, Johnny Truant, and he comes across these files called the Navidson files, the Navidson document, something like that. And it basically follows this house that is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Yeah, House of Leaves. I still own it, and it's still one of the books that I really want to get to because it is so fascinating the way that it's written. It's almost mixed media. Like some of the pages are upside down, some of the pages are completely blank, some pages are written like in a circle. It's very strange, and apparently it's like a huge mindfuck. That being said, I have not read House of Leaves. It is still on my shelf. It's something that I want to get to. I believe I tried it, and back in the day it read kind of like a textbook to me, and it was really difficult to get through. It's one of those books where it's gonna take me like a long time to get through it, but it's one of the ones that I want to read before I die, so we'll see. I got Tokyo Ghoul Volume 4, and this is by Sui Ishida. It's about this world where these things called ghouls have kind of started to take over. They're basically zombies, but they look like humans, so they can pass for humans in the daytime, but they have to eat people to survive. Yeah, I love Tokyo Ghoul. I haven't finished the series, but I did read that 4th volume. I think I'm up to volume 8, and it's one of those series that I really need to reread from the start to be able to continue. But yeah, Tokyo Ghoul is great. I love Tokyo Ghoul. The Diviners and Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. I read the first chapter of it. There's a Ouija board involved. The only shitty thing is that they kept cover changing, and even the 3rd book has a different cover. I read the first book. I fucking hated it. I did not like it, and I think I even kept those books for a while afterwards because the first
book's cover is so gorgeous. Anyways, I read that. I fucking hated it. I unhauled the 2 that I had. I forgot I even owned Lair of Dreams. I completely forgot about that. That's news to me.
So I finally got some Neil Gaiman. I got Coraline and Neverwhere. I've already read Coraline. I read it this month. It was really, really good. Obviously, I've seen the movie already. It's one of my favorite movies. And this other edition of Neverwhere is illustrated by Chris Rydell. It is so cool. Like, the illustrations are a part of the page, and I'm gonna show you a few of them. The illustrations are so creepy and weird. It's like, see, here's like a full-length page.
I read both of these. Obviously, I said that I read Coraline, but I also read Neverwhere. I loved Neverwhere. If you like anything that's kind of gritty, but also really whimsical and magical, definitely Neverwhere's your gal. And Chris Rydell is still one of my favorite illustrators. Huh! Love that copy. I've read it.
The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is one of my favorite books of all time. This book follows our main character, Charlie, as he is going through his freshman year of high school. He's trying to find himself, trying to find friends.
Perks of Being a Wallflower is still one of my favorite books. I try to reread it at least once a year. The last time I did a reread of it was in December, so I love that book. I pretty much cry from start to finish. I love the movie as well.
The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I just finished this book. I'll have my thoughts in my May wrap up, but oh my god, like, this book is so important. It's so real. It just takes you on a journey through the eyes of our main character Star as her best friend has just been murdered by a police officer.
If you haven't read The Hate You Give, you definitely need to pick it up and try it. It is so good. And I think that it's still a super important book. If you haven't read it, you definitely need to.
The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This book is kind of loved.
I owned that!
The only thing that I know about it is that the magic system involves different forms of light, different colors of light, and the person who can control all of the light is called the Black Prism.
It sounds really, really good. I don't remember owning this book. I remember this book being talked about. I do not remember owning this book. I have not read it, and I don't have it anymore. It has gone. It is totard out of the building.
Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I've already read this book. It's amazing. I've been dying to have this book in my possession, and now I have it.
Eliza and Her Monsters. Yeah, I read Eliza and Her Monsters. I say it's amazing here, but I don't remember. I am not remembering the it's amazing vibes. I remember it being okay, and it was really popular at the time, so I had to say good things about it. I do not own it anymore, but I did read it.
The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw is another book that I've already read. More thoughts are going to be in my May wrap-up. This book is set in this town. It's like out in like on the sea and stuff like that, where 200 years previous, the town accused 3 sisters of being witches. They tied rocks to their feet and they drowned them.
I had already read it in this video. I have already read it. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. The cover is gorgeous. It was pretty good.
The 10th anniversary edition of The Name of the Wind. Got the red pages. Throughout the story, there are illustrations of our characters. I myself have...
Here she is in all her glory! She's been around the sun a few more times, but she's here. She's gorgeous. I have now read The Name of the Wind. I also read the second book. I loved the first book, The Name of the Wind. The second book was a little rocky. It was a little rocky. I'm not gonna lie.
The Magician's box set by Lev Grossman. I don't really know a lot about this series. Basically, all I know about this is that it's about a magical school. And the characters are kind of insufferable and not likable.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I read the first book in the Magicians trilogy the same year that I filmed this, I think. The Magicians is a very confusing book for me because there's some parts that I really, really, really loved, and then there's some parts that I had horrible problems with, and I don't know how to feel about it. I did unhaul it because I tried to get into the second book. I just hated being in the main character's head. He wanted to have sex with literally every woman that he came across. It didn't matter if he was attracted to her or not. He was always talking about bits and pieces of her body. I unhauled them. They're gone.
The Cloud Roads and The Serpent Sea, both by Martha Wells. This is the first and second book in the Raxora. This is an adult epic fantasy series. This follows our main character, Moon, who can shift into this winged creature, and he's never seen anybody like him. He's always been kind of moving around to different towns.
I read both of those, I believe. I know that I read the first one and I started the second one, but I don't remember if I finished the second one or not. But I do remember liking the first one. The second one was just a little bit bit slow for my taste.
Vicious by V.e Schwab. It basically follows these two guys who have determined that people who have like near-death experiences can manifest powers.
Vicious is actually the only book by V.e Schwab that I have genuinely liked, that I've genuinely connected with. I've read multiple books by V.e Schwab, both the YA stuff and the adult stuff, and I wasn't crazy about any of it except for Vicious. Vicious is really, really good, and I still own Vicious. The second book was not so good, but I liked the first one.
A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I have not read this book yet. I'm wanting to reread A Court of Wings and Ruin, but I've heard very mixed things about this novella. But the only thing that matters to me is that I pre-ordered it and got the Night Court pen. So even if it sucks, I have the Night Court pen.
I was going through my stuff the other day and I found that Night Court pen and I had no idea where the fuck it came from. So now I know. Because I pre-ordered A Court of Frost and Starlight. Yes, I've read A Court of Frost and Starlight. And a lot of people were hating on it because it seems like a Hallmark special. I don't think there's anything wrong with a good Hallmark special, okay? We needed some Christmas happiness, some Christmas cheer. So that was a little bit better than the last one, I think. But also there were a lot more books. There were a lot more books, and there's still quite a few that I have not read that I still own. Oh, that's depressing. Okay. Let me know down below what book has been on your shelf the longest that you still haven't read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fan-fucking-tastic day, gorgeous, and I will see you next time.
But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye-bye!